Welcome YouTube. Hi, this is Scott from Camp Terra, and on today's video we are at Indian Creek recreational area in Woodworth, Louisiana, which is just west of Alexandria, central Louisiana. And on today's video I'm going to give you a first look or overview of the Haven XL hammock tent hybrid unit or system. Very different unit. There's plenty of reviews of the Haven XL on YouTube. If you're looking for a video review with all the specs, the weights, this, that, and the other, this is not that video. I will flash up some of the basic specs, weights, dimensions, and things like that. You can stop the video and look at that here. And I'll leave that up just for a little while, but this is kind of a first look overview of a hammock-based tent hybrid from someone who is primarily a ground dweller, right? I love using tarps on the ground. I do utilize some sleeping pads which have made sleeping better. Back in the old days, we just, laid your sleeping bag down. Those days are gone, thank God. But what this is going to be is primarily how to get in the mindset around this, and it's also going to be a first look overview primarily from the viewpoint or standpoint from someone who is not a hardcore hiker. This is going to be a first look overview based on someone who hikes less and camps more. I'm the type of guy who really enjoys the R&R, the work that goes on, the extracurricular things that are done at camp. I like to carve, fire gathering, processing, whittling, making my own stakes for the ground to stake out, my poles, this, that, and the other. So I strategically scout on the internet primarily through a lot of my mapping applications. My day job, I am a professional GIS analyst for an engineering and architectural firm in New Orleans. So I'm a mapping and geography nut, right? So I strategically look for wild camping locations based on many different criteria, and that'll be for another video. But I generally have a hike of a maximum of 5 miles. So you're looking at anything from 1 mile to 5 miles in, and then I'm camping from that base camp and enjoying myself. Then once base camp is established off the beaten path, I generally go explore and do some things around base camp. So this it's not a review. This first look overview is based off that kind of person. If you're someone, I can tell you that if you're an ultralight hiker, you love to put miles in, long day hiker, weekend hiker, this may not be the solution for you. At 6 to 7 pounds max, the whole thing, it actually compresses down well into a nice little system and unit, and I'll put that up on the screen in a little bit. But I mean, it's going to be a little heavy. It's not ultralight. It is ideal and outstanding for car camping. And again, if you have a known wild camp location, a dispersed camp location that's 1 to 3 to 5 miles, just putting this in a backpack and going there, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. You might have a little extra weight, but if you camp near a water source, you can offset the water that you bring in with the added weight of the Haven XL. So first thoughts here. Again, like I said, I'm a ground dweller. never have really enjoyed hammocks. I have napped, yes, napped in a hammock for a few hours and enjoyed it. But I am a back and side sleeper. I'm also the kind of guy who tosses and turns. So a conventional hammock for me just does not work. I don't like, no matter how you do the offset in a traditional hammock to lay as flat as you can, being a tosser and a turner, I'm never gonna remember that in a sleeping situation. So that's why hammocks have not been on my radar until this came out. The regular Haven came out, and it's a narrower unit, and a lot of medium to larger folks did not like that their arms were hanging out of the side of it. So of course Haven came out with the XL. Once they did that, that piqued my interest. On their websites and around YouTube, you see these big burly dudes, you know, getting in this thing and laughing and smiling and saying, this is nice. You know, I don't feel constrained. I don't feel like I'm in that traditional coffin type squeezing sensation that some people do not like in a traditional hammock, right? So I pulled the trigger and I got the Haven XL, and here are my thoughts. Once you get, I mean, it goes up well. I will say that the two straps that come with the unit itself are very short. I opted and bought a different suspension system altogether to use on this. And after this weekend, I still got to alter it a little bit. But I would definitely recommend, before you even go out with it, if you do decide to pull the trigger based off this overview and some other reviews out there, to make life better, you never know which trees you're going to get. I happen to have two medium-sized trees. I'm also a forestry management graduate with a Bachelor's of Science from LSU. These trees that I'm out at right now are 12 plus inches in diameter at DBH, diameter at breast height. So with those smaller straps, I never would have made it. Of course, you can offset with bringing a bunch of cord or whatever else you have, but get some good straps. Once you get it hung right, okay, and primarily you'll see here that I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm trying to keep stuff organized in my head. I've noticed that my suspension system has been slowly slipping, okay, even though I've got some serious knots, stopper knots in it, that are so tight now I can't get undone. So that's like a newbie thing, right, in hammock camping that I've got to address. So I can't really undo it yet, but it has slowly slipped down, and the Haven has lowered a little bit. Nothing bad that I'm laying on the ground or anything, but you primarily want to get the ridge line and the start of the suspension straps like lateral, nice and even, right? Not a up here, then down here, then comes like this, which now it has turned into. I'll be throwing some B-roll in while I'm talking so you can see what we're dealing with. But for me, also, the main thing that I want people to take away who are considering this thing, how do you sleep away from your bed? Your bed at home, wherever you live, your primary comfort sleep station at home. How do you sleep away from that? So it could be, how do you sleep when you go to a motel? How do you sleep when you go camping in your tent? How do you sleep when you go camping in your hammock? Or whatever the deal is. I'm the type of person that if I'm not in my bed, no matter what, no matter how comfortable I am, how great it feels, how flat the lay, I'm not going to sleep as good because I'm just not at home. I'm not in my comfort zone, right? So that's a big aspect of taking all of these reviews that you see on the Haven into consideration because it's so subjective. I can tell you all the pros and cons and blah, blah, blah of this, but if you don't go into it first with knowing your sleep pattern and comfortability and acceptability of sleep at your best place, right, then it's a bit biased. So take that with a grain of salt. That how do you sleep away from your perfect sleeping situation at home? No matter how comfortable I am, I'm not going to sleep as good. But with that said, like I said, I'm primarily ground dweller, tent, a tarp, cowboy camping, with a great 3-inch pad. I use a Climate. My primary sleeping pad is a Climate 3-inch Static V Lux. A lot of people, very popular mat. I generally put a ground sheet. I put my mat, and I put my my sleeping bag bivy cover, and then my sleeping bag in that, and I'm good to go. And I sleep pretty damn good for sleeping on the ground, right? But no matter what, because I'm a side sleeper, I'll always wake up with that feeling like your shoulder is just crushed back into your ribs or your upper chest. You even though you sleep okay, like you know you slept on the ground, even with the pad, right? This thing, the Haven XL, I climbed into it last night, and we had temps, was 56 degrees with a light variable breeze. This thing was outstanding. It has the flat lay, which we'll go into in 1 second. I was not enveloped like a traditional hammock. My shoulders were not pinched in any way. We're close to the side, but never once did I feel like it was in my way, or I had a lot of space. I had a good almost a foot at the head and foot end of additional space, and I'm 5'10". So that was awesome. There are 3 pockets at the head and foot end, which was outstanding. The ridge line runs all through the center to the tie-out points on the head and the feet. So of course, Haven also puts some toggles that run along there. We'll show that too, where you can hang lights. Plus, I mean, the standard thing that your ridge line does. You can hang your socks or something to dry out, blah, blah, blah. I've even seen videos where people have taken their backpack and hung it from the ridge line, like upside down, all the way down at the foot end. Although it's hanging, I mean, unless it's laying on your shins, it's not a big deal if it's kind of in the way, because you're sleeping from your mid-torso, waist, all the way up, and nothing's in your way. So that's a great way. I've seen people use the ridge line to keep their backpack dry and out of the weather as well. So with that said, the main aspect of keeping a flat lay in this thing, what I've heard is almost blowing up that mattress. I actually bought the Haven insulated. It's got a insulation rating of 4. I bought it as a unit, so I got the insulated pad that's 3 inches, insulated rating of 4, the rainfly, and of course it comes with the straps, the 2 spreader poles, 4 stakes, and the guy outlines, 4 guy outlines for the rainfly itself. Okay, Um, and I bought a few other creature comforts. Like I bought their heavy duty quality carabiners for the end, and I bought their Ridgeline LED light. It's really awesome. So I'm getting back to the pad. I'm getting off. So that pad has got to be almost overinflated. The more stiff the pad, the flatter the lay's going to be. Okay. And here's where I get totally nitpicky, right? Once that pad goes in there, it becomes flat. And in each corner of the unit itself are little triangular sleeves that all four corners of the rectangular sleeping pad go into those webs, and we'll show that here in a minute too. And that helps keep it, I mean, the pad never moved once. It didn't slosh around. And I am just like I said, I'm constantly tossing and turning, sleeping on my side, my back. So if it passed my test from squirming around, it's damn good. And I'm in an oversized mummy sleeping bag, and I was able to turn and toss within the sleeping bag, right? Without the sleeping bag turning with you and getting all... Some people like that in the mummy bag. That's how they sleep. They sleep so tight that when they turn, it's almost like the mummy bag itself is an outfit. And however you turn, that's the way this thing, see, I don't like that. I like to have a lot of room in my bag or quilt or whatever I'm using. And when I turn, I want the bag to remain level, right? With the zipper at the right or the left, and me turn inside of it, right? So I wanted to do like this. I want to do this. I'm the spinning person. And that was great. Never did I feel like I was getting bunched up, and the sleeping bag was under my armpits and in my butt and underneath my leg, and it was perfect. I was able, and my sleeping habits, I tend to do that. I'll raise up the sheet or the blanket or whatever over me, and then I'll turn. And then just to make sure that I'm not tossing and turning the whole bag of sheet. It's weird. We all have sleeping nonces, right? Idiosyncrasies that we do when we sleep. Or none of us even know, because we're the type of sleeper that as soon as the head hits the pillow, you're the type, gone. Don't know anything unless you dream or you wake up. Because really and truly, if you're dead asleep, how do you know you're sleeping? Riddle me that, Batman. How do you know that you're sleeping? The only way you know you're sleeping is when you wake up. It's the fact that you wake up. If you don't dream, you have no recollection of anything that's going on from the time you fall to that sleep until you wake up, you know? I'm kind of deep. I analyze weird stuff, right? So it's kind of a squirrely, hazardous area that you don't know what's going on there. But sorry, we're getting off track. Anyway, if you're that type of person who can just bam, dude, this is a no-brainer. I mean, a no-brainer. So, with that said, let's go through a few pros and cons. And a lot of people's pros and cons are going to be different. I need more review time with this, more time with this to have a real review, a nitpicking review, right? Which I don't really like the nitpicking things, because if your ass is out in the woods, camping, in a coffin-style piece of cloth hanging from two trees, you don't nitpick. You thank God that you got what you got, and you deal with the issues, and that's it, because you can't bring your queen or king size or single bed out in the goddamn woods and be perfectly happy adjusting the thermostat just the way you like it, right? No. So, a lot of these reviews are so nitpicking with their pros and cons. There's a certain level of just deal with it, that you got to just deal with. So my pros and cons are, I slept awesome. I don't have that feeling of my shoulders being cramped into my chest, and I'm kind of stiff from sleeping on the ground, even with a pad. I don't have that at all. Another pro is the width and the dimensions. For someone 5'10", it is ideal. I mean, ideal. You could almost, if you have a medium to small size pup, could sleep between your legs or down at the other end, or maybe even at your head end if you push all the way down. There's some pretty good room. People who are 6 foot to 6'5", I mean, if you're 6'5", your head and feet might hit, but it's still gonna work. I've seen upwards of big burly men, 6 foot, 280 pounds, get in this, and they're the type of person who sleeps like a rock as soon as they lay lateral, right? So that, I mean, that worked out. The sleepability factor and the comfort factor for the Haven XL, 1 out of 10, 1 being the lowest, not good, 10 being the best, I give it a 9 or 9.5. It's the best outdoor sleep that I've gotten, which is not saying a lot because I don't sleep or have never really slept overnight or spent a weekend in a conventional hammock. Only because I know I've tried it. I've slept, napped in friends, and I just know from napping, when my general sleep starts to kick in and I go on my sides and I'm squirming and tossing and turning, I end up just getting up from the nap. That's enough. So I know I can't do that. So I've had enough insight into sleeping in a conventional hammock. Oh, the other big pro, this thing can be a hanging hammock, or you can put it on the ground like a cowboy camp. Okay, so you just need 2 poles at the head and foot end, either a trekking pole, or you can do like I've done here and go in the woods, do a little measuring, and cut you some poles down and put it on the ground. So that is a massive pro, that you can use it both ways. You go someplace that either has no trees, or the trees are severely rotten, or there's a ton of widowmakers and dead snags, you just don't feel comfortable. Hey, just put it on the ground and you're doing the same thing. Okay, but I know a lot of people, I'm going to be putting this on the Louisiana Tent Camping Facebook group. Shout out, yes, to all those great people. We don't get a lot of exposure, a lot of YouTube videos of hiking and camping and backpacking in our great state of Louisiana, the Bayou State, right? So I'd like to change all that. So this is why I'm making this video. And I will ramble. Tell me to shut up in the comments. That's fine, because I know I do it. Back to this. So the pros are the sleepability, and the room is the best I've seen so far, 9.5. The other pro is that it hangs, or it can go on the ground. Another pro I like is that it's all in one unit. I've inspected it. I know before I've come out, I like to inspect all the seams. They seem top notch. The materials, the craftsmanship really seem top notch. No loose ends, no threads fraying, no lifting of the seam tape in the corners and things of that. Really well made. Okay, the head and the foot end, on the vertical sides of the head and the foot end, where the hammock or tent is exposed, that fabric is a heavier duty static head, so that if you do get side rain, it's like fully waterproof, or more waterproof than the rest of the unit itself. We'll have to test all that. but I like their unique design of the carabiner going through the ends of the rainfly and attaching as one main unit the rainfly to the tent or the hammock itself. So that's awesome. I mean, if I had to come up with kind of 3 cons now, I don't really have any yet. Now it's supposed to rain here tonight later, so I may come back and video some things after the rain, and give y'all some information on. Again, if you're coming into this video or you're fast forwarding, this is not a full review of all the features. This is a first look overview of really the sleepability and the first impressions of someone who gets this thing. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're noticing, you know, I'm not showing every feature. There's a ton of videos out there, guys. If you want to see every single feature of what it can do, just do Haven XL10 and just start looking, because everybody in them touches on the same features. Okay, and I'm not going through all that. I want to go through what it's made for. I want to talk a little bit about how you sleep, how I sleep, the subjectivity of people's expectations, but also you got to match that against how you know you sleep in the perfect setting environment at home compared to outdoors. That's why, you know, everybody wants to know how does it sleep? How did you do? Well, I mean, it's different because I don't know how you really sleep at your perfect state. And I haven't heard people in reviews or first looks talk about that. Okay, it's almost like the science of sleep, right? We dive into that a little bit. So as far as cons go, I don't have any right now, other than if your sleep pad that goes into the hammock and into the 4 sleeves that keep it steady and tight so it does not move, if it is not fully blown up or overblown some, if you're a heavier person, I'm 210, and I could notice just a slight crease in the middle. So like when you're looking at it before you get in, it's nice and flat. So when I got in, it might be just a little bit like this. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit. But nothing you're gonna notice, or, I mean, it's not like this, like a bit, it's not. Now if your pad would deflate, I think you would notice. I think you would still sleep fine. But, and I don't think you would be like in a conventional hammock. So, you know, if you are already used to sleeping in a hammock, any little slight variance is still gonna feel like you're flat, right? I must have hung it right because I never felt like my head was high or my head was low and my feet were high. It all depends where you lay in the hammock based off your torso and your chest. Okay, so remember that you kind of want your mid chest up off center. You know, you want your it's like you kind of want your torso at the middle of this of the unit itself. Once you figure that out, I mean, it's awesome. If you get it nice and level on both sides, and unless you're someone who wants a propped up head end, no, you, depending on the suspension system that you use, pull it up a little bit and you'll raise up some. But like I said, those 3 pros, the sleepability, the space, 9 to 9.5. The only reason why I'm not giving it a 10 is a 10 is me sleeping at home in my bed. Okay, so that's pretty high on my list there. because I give sleeping on the ground like I do with my sleep system, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, ground sheet, pillow, you know, that's roughly like a 6 or 7. Okay, I mean, it's way better than what it used to be, but it's a 6 or 7 in my sleep scale, based on the kind of sleeper I am at home, right? So the sleepability, the fact that it can convert hammock and ground tent, and the quality, craftsmanship, attention to detail, the products, the quality, the choice of materials that they use are just top notch. Okay, and as far as cons, I don't have any right now. If you're on the fence, you will be so excited to try this that when you get in it, like I got in it last night and I was like, oh yeah, it's nice. But see, I don't know any different. I mean, I know how it feels to be in a conventional hammock, but it wasn't until, like, it also takes me a while to fall asleep. Like, I'm those people that, I mean, if I let my mind go, I could be up an hour before I fall asleep. But last night, as I started to settle in and people started dying around me, I was comfortable. I was laying there in like mid, kind of that state where you know you're drowsy right before you don't remember anything. And that's what happened. I remember feeling good and comfy. And of course, during the night, like I said, because I'm a tosser and turner, I kind of wake up. I toss and turn, and then I fall back asleep. And those instances were perfect. I woke up and got out of this thing, and I don't feel like I've been on the ground. My shoulders, my sides, my back, nothing. Perfectly fine. I can't say anything about those who are stomach sleepers. Occasionally, I may find myself there. But all the tossing and turning I did on my side, you'll have no problem laying on your stomach in this thing. Whether or not your sleeping bag or quilt will be going with you, I don't know if you go from back to stomach. So, those are the first key points in like the first look, first overview of using this thing. I'm going to go around and take some B-roll to input shots of where I've been discussing where is needed. I'm also going to show it up as it is with the fly out, and then I'm going to show it in storm mode. We're supposed to get some rain later today. It's like almost 1, and it's supposed to come in anywhere between like 5 and 10 o'clock at night. Don't know how bad it's going to be, but I'm going to prepare for storm mode. And if I can think of anything else that I didn't put in this first sleepability overview of the Haven XL, I'll piece in. Okay, guys. So thanks if you're still here with this long rant. I hope this has helped you either make a decision or ease your thoughts about it. And look, hey, there are several bridge hammocks out there, like the Clark, I forget what it's called. Clark makes a bridge hammock, the Bannock, and then the other kind of hybrid hammock tent thing is the Dromer AMOC, right? The odd, lateral perpendicular hang type deal. That thing is $500. Okay, this thing right here, the whole unit plus like 4 extras that I bought, the light, the little pump, the air pump. So I bought the Haven light set that came with it, the pump, the carabiners, the heavy duty carabiners, and there was something else I forget. But that total was $365. If you don't need all those extras, you know, you're looking at like $320, $300 bucks. Okay, that's a good deal for a piece of quality. And I can tell you the quality's there. Now, if you find one of these in a different brand, the owners of Haven, I'll tell you this, they are cracking down for these Chinese knockoffs of this, and they stay busy trying to shut those sites down. So this does not feel cheap at all. It's just like I said, it's going to be a test of time to see how it holds up. I get that, but there is nothing cheap on this. Okay, so now I'm going to take you and do some B-roll shots around here. I'm also may hover in on some key things that I did notice, some idiosyncrasies that I wouldn't say are a con, just because you're camping, and anything other than being at your house and being in the elements is just a given. So I mean, it's not like a con. But I may point out things as I'm doing my B-roll. So hang in there. I'm trying not to make this too long, but I'm trying to be as thorough as possible, because I know that especially in the Louisiana Tent Campers group, there was a lot of people. I posted some photos, and they were really interested in wanting to know how my hang was and how my sleepability was. And that's part of many of these Haven Standard and Haven XL reviews that I don't hear about. You know, they talk about the features and the cons and the material and the zipper being this, and they show you the features, and that's generally it. You know, they generally say, man, I slept good, or oh, I have to try this pad or that pad. But let's diagnose the kind of sleeper you are first at your, I'm restating what I've already stated, at your perfect comfortability rating, which is at home, wherever you sleep in your own bed, and then put that to an outdoor, in the elements, camping situation, right? Let's have a little common sense here. So hang in there. We'll be back. So here's one aspect that a lot of people I hear on YouTube kind of gripe about, and that is there is only one zipper pull. So that's right. Okay, I've got it with the mosquito net on. So if we come down with it, now look what happens when you get in. You have to sit up, reach down, grab that, and come down, which wasn't a big deal because I left it about halfway, kind of like this, like so. I left it right there instead of all the way up in the corner, and I left it like that, and I was able to reach up and pull it and go all the way up, and it wasn't a big deal, right? So there are some toggles for it right here that you can roll up the net. You can see I got my light in here, the Haven XL light. Here are the pockets, very generous pockets right here. This you again can also see the pockets at the opposite end. You can look at where the spreader poles go in. This is very, I'm sorry about the wind, but it's very well made, very rugged and overbuilt because it is a pressure point. We'll have to see how that does over time, but very well built. And that's it. Swing's nice. You have, of course, this is the end of the rainfly. In storm mode, you can batten it down to these corners. So So it goes up to right here, and we're going to show that in a little bit. Also, there is a middle hook for storm mode. Once the four corners are all toggled out, if it's really bad, you can hook the middle of the rainfly to here, and it really stays. And one thing is, a lot of people in the reviews were saying, well, when you toggle out the corner to the bottom of the four corners of the hammock or tent, the rainfly is loose. Well, what you got to realize is, once you put your weight in here, this whole unit will sag some, and that tightens out the rainfly. I'll try to show that a little bit. But more B-roll coming up. A bit of how it looks in storm mode. Again, you can see the toggles here on all four ends down here, and then your middle. That's how it attaches. And you can leave this open to get some air ventilation in. So just have it closed. So that's the whole thing. Just a look around the haven in storm mode. Because it is getting, again, I am at Indian Creek Recreation Area in Woodworth, LA. The wind is picking up seriously. As you can see, I'm with a group of hammockers. It's a hammock hang this weekend. So there's hammocks all in the woods. There's some people's hammocks here. There's two there. Most of them are up that way. You can see some hammocks back there. Right through here. It's really cool. And you know me, I like to get away from almost everything, no matter what. So I came in, both this person right here and I felt like, okay, let's get away from all the snoring and the radio and how loud it's going to be. So that's what I did. There's a lot of trees down, like this tree right here literally is blocking the road, the road path into this camping spot from the unimproved rock road. So I had to find an area around, and I was able to get my truck back here. So that was pretty cool that it worked out. If you guys have any more questions or comments, please leave them in the video below. I'll have a link to Haven XL. If anybody is interested in this system here, let me know. This is a guy who actually sells them on Facebook Marketplace or eBay. I forget. But he hand does these whole things. These toggle button system. Also uses that approach here. I was also told by a veteran hammocker that try to keep this in the center of your hammock and not offshoot to put less stress on this. So that's a newbie error. If anybody sees that, I'm aware of it, but it's so tight right now, I'm just going to leave it. And once again, the Haven XL for me, Scott Owens, Camp Terra. This thing is awesome. I love it. I can't wait to go to some of my other wild camping spots and hang this. I'm already thinking of spots that are on big ridges overlooking a deep vertical drop off onto a creek where I can hang this and have an outstanding view, you know. So I'm getting ready for storm mode. I will probably tomorrow I may pop in for a brief overview of how I made it through the second night while it rained. Okay, so stick with us. Later. Alright guys, we are in the Haven XL. It is currently 12 o'clock a.m. At Indian Creek Recreation Area, people are winding down. I just wanted to give you a narrow field of view inside of the Haven XL. So we're just going to pan around and look around. Got my power bank here, my phone, pockets. You can look at what it looks like, what I'm seeing. See the room I have. You can see, I'm not sure if you can see my shoulders. I'm trying to hold this camera, but 5'10", 210 pounds, and I am not being squeezed at all. Even if I put my arm like this and my elbow, I mean, I have some nice room in here. We had a few very minor rain showers. Nothing leaked, stayed dry. I do wish that, I think a lot of veteran hammock people will notice that the rain fly, although the material is awesome, right? And the camo looks cool. And the way they pair it up with the system in general is really, really nice. But I wish that it was wider. I wish that it came out a little bit more, really about a foot more. Because I'm backed up to the tent itself, and the rain flies right at my knees. Of course, this is a kind of a standard chair, but still was getting some drips on my knees, and anything right out in front of me is getting wet. So I may pair it with one of my tarps to see how much more extension I do actually get. But besides that, the Haven XL at the 2022 Louisiana Hammock Hang in Woodworth, Louisiana at the Indian Creek Recreation Area in the primitive campground was a success. This thing's awesome. I can't wait to take it someplace else. I may pair it with a quilt, a top quilt, instead of a sleeping bag. I had a 40-degree last night. It was in the mid-60s, right? Light breeze. And most of the night I slept on top of the sleeping bag. So a 50-degree bag or a light quilt, or even like something like the Kelty Bestie blanket, kind of light blanket, might be awesome in here. So I appreciate you if you've made it this far in the video. Thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get more. The majority of Camterra's campouts are going to be in local Louisiana and just across the state line in Mississippi. So those are the types of adventures we're going to be doing. And this was the first look overview of the Haven XL tent. Thanks for watching. Until next time, y'all stay safe.